Today we are going to I actually have a few friends here with me, but we are going to be reviewing three AI stock picking apps. And hopefully this is actually going to be a series because I think a lot of people are interested in how to use AI to invest in stocks. And we're just going to go out there and talk about it and from the perspective of we just have absolutely no idea what's going on because actually that's the bigger market. And hopefully you might take some of our feedback here because we'd love to get in on the fun. I have, and this is a room full of product managers. I have my good friend and instructor, Justin, who is our product management instructor out there from Chicago. I also have Andy here, who's our product management instructor over there in San Francisco. And then I also have two listeners that are listening in, Crystal and Steve. They will decide whether or not they want to participate. But let's go ahead and talk about. I'd love to hear everybody's feedback on this, but let's just go ahead and talk about. Give me a second.
Talk about product,
Talk
product.
about. Whew. Okay, let's talk about the three players that we got. Number one is we got Dub. Number two is we got Barebones. Number three is we have Autopilot. Okay. And then we also have, as you can see at the very top, we got the Instagram handles of all three companies. So this is actually the one for Autopilot right here. Okay. We have the one for Bare Bones right here. And then we have the one for Dub Invest right here. We got the YouTube channel, okay, for Dub. We got the autopilot, we have bare bones, and then we also have I think a company that just makes user education just a little bit simpler is 11 Labs. And we've also taken the liberty of grabbing the LinkedIn handles of, really, I would say the name behind the face. I mean, well, no, the face behind the brand. Well, the face of the brand, except for, this gentleman here, we don't have a face to, but I mean, we have his face here, but we just don't have his face here. With that said, let's go ahead and break it up. My friends, have any of you heard of any of these three products before?
This is my first time hearing about these guys.
Really?
Yeah.
All right. Steve and Crystal, you want to weigh in here?
These are new to me too.
I've heard about autopilot, but that's about it. Just the
Crystal?
I,
name.
I've never heard of them.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. So, let me see here. I'm personally very interested in this topic about how to use AI to invest in stocks because I know that people that work in this space, obviously being based here in New York, they're always trying to get a competitive advantage. And with like financial modeling and engineering and such, I would say for the three that we have right now, the one that I actually probably heard of or seen the most is Autopilot, where they do a lot of I I'm not a professional in this. I have no accounts in all three, but I would love to. I would love to. And we represent a community of people that would love to go out there and get to know this product better, from a product management perspective and possibly be customers of yours, right? They really hit a chord with the Pelosi tracker right here. And with the Pelosi tracker, it just seems like she's obviously doing very well. She's obviously doing very, very well. But with all like copying or like there's other like I would say from a standpoint, like I think they did really good in marketing, which is they have the politician trade tracker right here, where they're tracking all of these politicians' trades, but this IG here is largely just like news. Um, And nothing's showing me how I can actually start using the product, which is something that I found pretty succinct across all three platforms. Is that um, I'm seeing like a lot of news here too, like what's going on. They seem to be pretty updated, but across their IG, also on their YouTube, I don't see any tutorial content versus if you take a look at 11 Labs, they actually have a dedicated section right here under 11 Agents tutorials where they're at the very least trying to show you how you can get started on this platform. And I think there's a lot of intrigue where people have heard of this and they've seen it, but there really isn't any mode in how it is that we can go out there and participate as the customer, you know? And it seems that at the very least here, when you go to autopilot, the guy that's running growth, um, which is this gentleman right here, like I also don't see any like there is a lot of information that what they've built is working, but we don't know how to make it work for the average person. Barebones kind of takes like it's your personal team of AI Wall Street analysts. They also have an app. This is also one feedback that I have is why don't any of these trading platforms, I mean trading tools actually have a desktop app because people I think would like to analyze a little bit. They'd like to go out there and actually analyze the process, but there's no desktop function. I can download it, it's gonna go to my phone. This right here, I can it's like start copying. I can download it, it's gonna go to my phone. I have a mobile app, but there's also no there's a page right here that says like how it works.
Mhm.
And
And what you have here are a bunch of pictures of people, which I guess if that's your thesis that we're going to copy this person. Um,
I don't know who is Joy Chen,
right.
whether or not she's been crushing it in the space. But like there's no real video, right? That's actually showing how I can participate. And then there's this too. And I think like if these products actually do as well as they say as they're claiming to do, because on the Instagram, what they're basically saying is, hey, the smarter way to invest is just to copy like a portfolio. So you're just telling me like you don't have to go to like a great culinary school. You don't have to be this chef, right? Like you can also just you can also just copy this recipe step by step and then you can be successful. And
You
that's
know what's weird
almost
about that? You know what's weird about that too is like these aren't static, right? So when I create a portfolio and there's a thesis going into it, right? You have an opinion, or you have some insider information. Now, I think that's probably what has really sort of struck a chord with the consumers that are chasing this because they've heard about these deals that some of the politicians have made, right? And made money off of essentially enrich themselves, which is, borderline, not even borderline, pretty much illegal, but they've done it and they've been called out for it like time and time again. So I think what this is trying to tap into is that sort of instinct that people have that, oh, I'm going to get, some insider information just by copying what they're doing, and I can profit from that too. I think that's really what they're trying to capitalize on most, which that's debatable because, just because this person has an opinion that these things are going to go up and they load up on a position, maybe they're privy to information, maybe they're not, or maybe it doesn't go the way that they suggested, or maybe it's predicated on something, happening that doesn't happen. So there's a lot of things that go on that. Andy, you look like you had some thoughts on this.
And you know what's the biggest challenge for all these apps or platforms is the fact that they do not help any new people understand things in
Mm,
terms of, like, if I have no knowledge of the how the market works other than the fact that, oh, if you put money on a low share, it's going to go up and you're going to make money.
right.
It is not accessible, or the education is not there for common people to go and invest. Honestly, if think about it, if you get even 1 million people to invest $10 on a regular basis, which people would easily do on a monthly basis or a weekly basis as well, you are increasing your portfolio in such a huge number. But just because there is no understanding for people, or nobody's giving them that understanding, okay, I, as a common person, somebody would be happy is like, if I put $10 maybe in a A year's time that'll go to 100. That's fine by a lot of people. Or if that $10 can go to $5 or $1, but most people will be fine losing that $10 to $1 compared to a lot of people who just do not have the education or the knowledge, and which the apps do not give. In that sense, is making people's or customers life easier. Is like, hey, this is what we're gonna give you. This is how you can make money. Or like, there's no education, there's no knowledge, and that's why the user acquisition on these apps or platforms is so low. It's always only traders or people who have a prior understanding of things, where now you're just fighting with other apps like Robinhood and places like that, where you are just like, well, oh yeah, I have a you know account here as well, I have an account here as well, I have an account here as well. I just don't know where I'm going to trade. So it's pre-knowledgeable people, whereas as from a product perspective, user acquisition is so difficult when you do not give the users the understanding or the knowledge of how they can go ahead and make money, because everybody wants that.
And you know what's interesting about that too is like investing is a regulated industry. So the folks that study this and do this for a living and put all their life's work into managing portfolios, I, it's weird because I don't know that they would have an easy time doing advertising the way that these folks are doing. So it seems like they're getting away with cutting through all the regulated ways to talk about these things and doing it in a way that's kind of disingenuous in some respects, and is certainly short-term focused, right? If you're only tracking what someone's doing right here and now, and even if that sort of catches up and tracks over time, it's still one person's opinion about something. It's not really like a long-term strategy for people who are trying to accumulate wealth, if that's really what the target audience is supposed to be. It just seems like a lot of things are kind of disjointed here on that.
Well, I think the craziest thing here is if you go to the videos, right, and you go to the oldest video, this one's going back like 2 years. So I think the premise is that there's these politicians, they, at least for this, for autopilot, it's copying politicians' trades, right? So the premise is when politicians trade stocks, that has to be publicly accessible information, which apparently it is. And, it's documented and kept on record somewhere that you can go out there and access, which it 100% is. And if we go ahead and just follow it seems like they have somehow, some way added technology to be able to track those trades and those records a lot more efficiently than if you were to go ahead and do it manually yourself, right? So the logic is if we're just betting on players that have insider information that can legally execute on that insider information, and we're just basically riding their coattails, not that different than like there's going to be a wave right behind a boat, and then I'm just going to be jet skiing right behind it.
Right, right.
Right. With Barebones, I think the messaging, well, with Dub, it just seems like let's just copy the traders that seem to be making the most money trading. But I'm not getting any, like, in terms of how it works. I'm like, so how do I identify which trader I should copy, and how do I copy that trader if I have like what is the user um what is the overall user education that is involved in determining how to identify who the traders are? This is actually like the feedback that I was giving you in terms of like the road, purple chipmunk, right? It's like I'm gonna have like I'm gonna have to go into this platform right now, and I'm gonna have to go out there and try to figure out all this shit.
You're gonna
And
have to
all,
invest time to
right,
figure this out.
right,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna have to do it all from the discomfort of my phone, versus I think the solution here for all three is to have people constantly onboard people over to a live community, either on a Facebook group or on a Discord, because you're going to be making updates onto you're going to be making updates towards like the the platform anyways, right? The only other thing that I'm just seeing these guys and girls that are doing is they are offering influencers like money saying, yeah, I just made X amount of money. Um, which I find highly suspicious. And obviously, I would say not to take it personally, the market would be largely pretty skeptical as well. Let's just assume for a minute here, and this is a big assumption with the market being extremely generous with their trust and their bandwidth, right? We got to also factor in people's attention span. Let's just say that you figured it out, right? If the process or the effort required, the friction is so much for me to figure it, I'm just not going to go ahead and figure it out. Yeah, that's basically,
And
yeah.
you know what it's like? It's almost like they copied the crypto patterns, right? They took a look at the crypto apps and said, we can basically just copy their patterns, make it mobile first. But it's an entirely different thesis and an entirely different reason for doing that. If you're like, especially early days, folks who were into crypto, they were into it. A lot of it was sort of a mindset, right? We're going to change the way finance works. We're going to democratize these things. We're sick of institutions managing all this stuff. So it came along with a lot of I guess ethos that came with that, right? So it wasn't just you're trying to capitalize on some short-term things or follow along. Like people have been following what Buffett's been doing for years, right? So this is a pattern, but they're vastly different things. And the people that want sort of the insight, from a long-term perspective, those are real investors that want to build something over time. If you're trying to catch a trend and make quick money, I kind of get where where maybe they might have tried to cater to that, but it
Mhm.
just doesn't seem like a very good long-term strategy for things like Pelosi when she steps down, like you notice her pictures are gone. So unless somebody else comes out and makes a name for themselves in the wrong way, I don't know how you continue that. It seems like a very short-ended strategy.
You just follow the Trump family now.
Yeah, well, and that'll be good for a little while longer, right? But all these
Oh,
things
you
have
don't know about that. You don't know about that. It could be the fun never needs to stop, you.
I guess, yeah, I guess there's an endless supply of nonsense out there to follow and try to profit off of, I suppose. It does seem like there's a disconnect between saying this is an investing app when the core thesis is really just sort of, kind of seedy, like you're trying to profit off of things that are probably, untoward, and you want to get in on it is kind of the message I'm getting from that, honestly.
That's the thing about like when we did the affiliate stuff when some people asked for the Stripe, it was like a few $100s for the course of like 6 months. Before it shot up, right? And I think that's actually why getting back to first principles, the going 0 to 1 and building in public is so important. Um, if you actually did figure this out, I think, and maybe you did, and I think one of the ways that these businesses, I'm going to make some wild assumptions here, which is I think largely they are applying this formula, this secret sauce to their own portfolio. And maybe they figured out. Uh, there's also like all three of these guys are also just tools. Um, I mean, like Claude is a tool, ChatGPT is a tool, like Gemini is a tool, right? It comes down to how it is that you prompt and you're getting like whatever results. Google search is a freaking tool too.
Right.
Like there are tips and tricks in how you can get a better search result off of Google, and how you're looking at it. So let's just assume positive intent. They figured out how they figured out like something that other people have not figured out, getting people to actually use it at the level of proficiency. Um, like you could put me in a Toyota Camry versus Lewis Hamilton in a Toyota Camry is not going to be the same experience, like so like Tom Cruise says, come down to the man in the box. And I think that's going to require a certain degree of actually user education. So instead of tearing it apart, here's what some of my own personal recommendations are. I'm just going to volunteer to go first. I would love for anybody else to have some feedback for it because we're not just trying to go out there and just like say like, okay, that's a problem, that's a problem, that's a problem. I think the first thing is setting up an online community, either a Discord or a Facebook group. But WAP WHOP is currently not paying me to say this. I am manifesting a check from them very soon. An actual check as a brand ambassador, by the way, is that you should just mobilize onto a WAP community because number one, you have more than just communication. You can run live streams on there. You can host actual curriculum on there, which is what we're doing for our online course. So, and then you can also you can have multiple tiers of coaching if it's not out of the question. Somebody's like, yo, I want to become like a dub master. I want to become like a bare bones AI agent maestro. I want to become like an autopilot badass, right? I would say that focus more on the user education and have consistent. You should probably just pay somebody where either an hour to 2 hours a week to almost daily their entire thing is just showing people how to use the platform and also showing people generating success on it. So, telling me that a ninja, like an air fryer, can make it's like it's possible to make fried chicken off of an air fryer. Depending on who the chef, who the cook is going to be a very different freaking like fried chicken, right? End result. Um, and I think there's plenty of people out there. If you guys, if they've figured out this tool, I would pay to get to learn this information. I mean, look at what people are charging for Udemy classes just to do better prompt engineering. So I would have number one, I would have an online community. Number two is I would stop posting about the result and I would post more content on the education of your product for the user to actually use it. And the next thing that I would do is I would also have create. There are no blogs that people can go like when you're talking about making a financial trade, like a trade, people like to read and people like to analyze things. So just showing me clips of like Donald Trump, Nancy Pelosi, Jensen Huang, and like you're showing me these pie charts of or graphs of, people's portfolio going up. What I need to know is like, okay, I'm assuming right now what we're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to download this thing on our iPhone. What's the next step after that? And we haven't even like taken down that piece, which is okay, you sign on. I'm assuming that the next portion of the onboarding process is I got to load up some funds, right? I got to like pop $100, something in there, right? What's that process looking like? And let's just say I'm ready to pop 10 G's in there. Like, how do I choose who to copy? How do I choose that portfolio? How do I execute the trade? Um, all those things. Now, there's also things that such as like even E-Trade, there's many different types of options that you can go out there and actually utilize on there to provide yourself with some type of coverage. Whereas all of that user education, doesn't exist. And the lastly is instead of having influencers flex about how much money they're making, like I think other people want to get in on the action, is actually have those influencers run real run real walkthroughs and education instead of them screaming saying like I made money. Great, Andy, I would love to print money too. Like how do I do it, right? Have dedicated times to do that. So that's actually my feedback. um Justin, starting with you first, what would you do?
So there's also like the sort of the middle question, which is like why and what, like what. So even with the copies that they're doing, what's the story behind that? So did Nancy Pelosi bought X million dollars a share of company XYZ, and 6 months later they announced this, right? So like, what was it? What was it that went into why that's a good idea? Right? Just because with the idea of copying a politician, I guess it, patently could be something, but I don't know why. Like, she's not somebody I would think of to give me financial advice per se, right? So if we're copying sort of a layperson, like what's the thesis? What goes into that decision? And what does history show, right? This portfolio is tracking this person when they made this investment. 6 months later, boom, goes up through the roof, or something anomalous happened, right? So that would kind of like justify the thesis to me a little bit if you showed if you showed sort of the pre and post, not the fact that you made money on it, but why did you make money? Was it because we nailed, the actions that they were taking that were sort of like non-public information? Then there's maybe real value in that, but at least that explains to me why that's a good idea. But just patently saying they're doing it, so we should do it too. People do lots of silly things, and you're not even sure why. So that just sounds like a gambling application to me, which,
It
fine.
is.
If it, but if
Rob,
it's
Robinhood
marketed
and E-Trade are gambling applications too, man.
well, yeah, it's stock market. All of us is gambling, but it's different if you're and if you came out and said, "Look, we're just doing this for fun," or "This is all." But if you're really pitching it like an actual investment, I think it's just maybe the wrong frame to put for something that you take so trivially. If people are putting serious money into this, so I think that's probably one of the big problems I have with that side of it. The how to use it thing too. It's kind of dangerous to turn people loose on things that they're not prepared for. So, a classic example of this. So, done research and seen companies that we think are going to have a great time, but along the road, things change. And what are the signals that say, guys, we had this set of ideas, it's not really panning out. We need to cut bait and run. This is now a bad idea, right? So, like, there's nothing that indicates that I'm going to get any advice on an ongoing basis, like when this thesis maybe didn't play out the way we thought it was going to. Now we need to change. So it's just kind of light on a lot of the why and the like the how or structuring this. It's just like copy paste. Um, I don't know. I don't know when that's ever been like successful investing wise.
You know what? That's hilarious because you're coming at it from this perspective that you're skeptical. I'm actually having this perspective of like, okay, if what you're saying right now works, like how do I make it work for
How
me?
do I just do it? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
and
yeah,
and
yeah.
different people are gonna have different reasons
Right,
for
right, 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 right. But now that I'm hearing you say it, I think more people would be having that level of skepticism. And I think that's actually more of a reason if you wanted to go out there, like in our growth series, right? Is like, how do we get 100x more users on your like 100x more users on your platform? Is I think the cool thing about this use case is that because everybody enjoys this concept of easy money, even your biggest skeptics would tune into a live stream to try to people work really hard to prove things wrong. Like it's hilarious, like oh my gosh. Like eating nothing but meat is the worst idea. Like I will like people go, oh my gosh, the number of my friends that told me like starting a product management career coaching business, like yo, like this isn't freaking some Supreme Court case we're fighting. If you were gonna get ready to do that much freaking data digging, why don't you start your own business? But people would tune in, and the more they would see real success results being converted, right? The more they're likely to actually buy in because the hardest people, the most skeptical customer the most difficult customers, once they're in, they're in. And that's actually, those are your best influencer partners, is like, because people know this. Man, if you convince that asshole Justin, that shit gotta work, you know what
that
I'm
hater hates
saying?
everything. Why would he? That's a fair point. Yeah, if you win over the hard one,
Right, right, right. That guy questions whether or not oxygen is real, you know?
is it really
Like,
round? It could be flat. I don't know. I've never been to space.
no, 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 it's true. The most difficult people to convert into our program, our career coaching program, has been probably the most loyal. It's really funny. There's a guy named Reza that joined our program in New York, and for some reason, he keeps on moving to cities that I'm in. Like he was our first speaker. It was funny when we first launched San Francisco. He was our first speaker instructor in San Francisco. He's like, "Yo, Rich, I'm in SF now." And then like during COVID, I met up with him in LA. And when we used to go to Miami a lot, like he was in Miami. And then the guy even saw me when I was in Seoul. And I was like, for a guy that I didn't like that much starting out, I was like, I've probably seen you physically in more cities from like Seoul to London than like most people that I actually do like. Well, yeah, it's funny, but
Those Indiana Jones trackers on
yeah,
Reza,
yeah,
right?
yeah. But like it's funny that like everybody that he's recommended over to us has just paid up because they're just like, yo, if he says if
But that's
he
but
says
that's a good proof point. That's why referrals work, right? Because the person who's giving it to you, they have referent power. You look up to them in some fashion, otherwise you wouldn't listen to them. And you say, okay, this person's knowledgeable or experienced in this area of life, and I'm going to take their suggestion, perhaps, right? Like that's the way
right.
psychologically, that's the way the whole thing works. Which is why endorsements work, which is why, and interestingly, when they study this, so the opinion of the person that's doing the referring gets slightly diminished, and the opinion of the brand gets slightly increased. So you're basically transferring that goodwill to the brand when you do endorsements like that. It's fascinating stuff if you're into that whole line of work.
Dude, it's gonna be so fun when I post this thing up on LinkedIn and tag all three of these homies. We're gonna be friends for
I can't
uh,
wait to hear
the
this.
takedown piece, you know.
Well, and like,
Right,
yeah, but
right.
in all
No, like
reality,
like
we're,
the like
we're
right in the growth series, I believe that honestly, every company can actually get 100x more users if they just provided more user education. So like people aren't feeling like they're getting left behind because what a lot of these videos do is like, okay, so you have this thesis 70%, 70% in 1 year. Well, like, or like, I got a 6 weeks, I got a six pack in 6 weeks for a hot sizzling summer and I ate whatever I wanted. Like, you're giving out this hook that, and I'm just gonna be the good guy in this, is like, okay, let's just assume you figured out the secret sauce. How do I get in on it, right? And a lot of them it's just kind of like, yeah, we got this thing that we figured out. But like we got this thing that we figured out. But you gotta go ahead and figure it out.
Yeah,
How to use this
and
thing.
if you look at this, how do you go from Nokia and Steve Jobs to fight? Like, there's no coherence in any of this shit, right? So it's just hard to follow just from like it just looks like noise because and I'm sure there's good stuff in here. I'm sure there's probably some well thought out, reasoned, arguments in here. But
Oh, how Trump manipulated stocks. You will get very little pushback here from supporters and non-supporters alike. All right, friend.
well, yeah, and that's probably an example just trading on the, like momentum or
The
whatever.
algo.
But
Yeah.
it's like, okay, let's hear an argument for it. Let's see what you're actually, what you're
But
selling essentially.
but
Andy, what's
here's
your
my
feedback in all this?
yeah, here's my problem, right? None of this is bringing the users to the platform. Like this is still going to keep the users on the platform. They're like, oh, how to actually build a winning portfolio. That's just information. Now I can go take this to the existing platforms I'm using, right? Why it doesn't give the distinguishing factors between other stuff and why somebody should be using their platform. And that is the biggest problem here, I feel. Is like, there is like no stickiness in terms of like come to the platform. Like they're not funneling these users into the platform, I feel. It is just about, oh yeah, this happened and this can be done and this could be done and this can happen. But then, okay, then we can go do it on any platform, right? If that's the case, why even use, why sign up another account, why go through the hassle of onboarding, which everybody knows it's like, oh, log into accounts and give bank details and blah 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 blah, all these steps. Like, I don't want to do that, so I can just watch this and go to another platform. So you're not funneling users onto your own platform, and not to mention then having the education or understanding of bringing those people quickly on board.
This is the whole point. Is like we wanted to reach out and basically we want you guys like we would love to be part of your growth team. Like there's this new legal app, right? And it's one of the things that I've been hearing It's one of the things that I've actually been wanting that I saw is they've had it's this new legal app that does like hang on, Jude Law. You guys all know the actor Jude Law, right? Times
Yeah.
Square,
Is that the
legal
one that's
AI.
like an AI attorney in your pocket or something like this? I think I've heard of this.
Yeah, so yeah, dude, it's freaking hilarious, right? So like this is what we're actually putting out there because I think we could do a better job. I think we can do a way better job than so many other growth teams that are out there that I think just suck. Is that there's this gigantic billboard and it's called Lagora in Times Square right here in New York. I saw it the last time we were hosting an in-person meetup here in the city. And I'm just gonna make a gigantic freaking like the new face of law, right? Nvidia just invested in an AI legal startup that's splashing Jude Law ads everywhere. And one of the things that I'm just hearing from all my friends that are lawyers, there's a shit ton in New York City, is like, okay, we're pretty fucking certain you definitely not going to be selling snake oils to law firms because that's like the last that's like the last guy in the group of guys that you want to go. But all of my friends that are lawyers, like we just don't know how to use any of this shit. Uh, yeah.
The
Well,
simplest
that
thing,
that ad that
first
ad looks
look.
like a cologne commercial. If you said that
Yeah,
that's a,
exactly. That's what I was going to come to. The first look at all that advertising, all that marketing, all that money. And my thought is it's an ad for a like a perfume or a clothing brand
yeah.
or something related to movie or a new series like Suits is coming out. Like
Well, the
my
crazy thing is that
association with Jude Law is
right,
not with law.
because his
So
last name is Law. Like, what
any
is
person
he
who
an attorney? Is he an actual attorney? I don't
I have never seen him
He's a
in
real attorney,
any
man. He's got to
as
be.
an
I don't think
attorney in
so. I
any
don't
show or movie either.
Yeah, he's
right.
got to be
Yeah.
a real attorney.
Is he an attorney?
I mean, his last name's Law.
Well,
So,
my last
no,
name's Fowler, and I grew up on a chicken farm. Okay,
I'm
maybe that's
telling you, dude, like freaking A, man. Nvidia just dropped real cash on this, and
but
like,
see, but that's not necessarily validation. That just means that they made a bet, and who knows? Like the person behind this, there might be other reasons why they made that bet, right? If anything, they're also making bets to supply the industries that are going to very much need their chips to
uh,
run complicated.
right, like cousin Jensen, hit us
Right.
up, yo. I
Well,
would. Yeah, I
and
mean, like the long and short of it is like if you really want to go ahead, like at the end of the day, apps are going to be successful if you actually just get users on it using it. Like, and going back to first principles of what it is that we do here is like Slack is like a golden retriever can use it, right? Like I think we all remember like that first experience that we had on Slack, and that's exactly what it is that we're talking about is we're building all this stuff, and let's just say that this is the best, like, I'm assuming that let's just say it's better than Harvey AI. What they should be doing, and this is going to be a completely different video, but this highlights the problem that's in the marketplace right now with all this slop and why they're paying like $775,000 to onboard these storytellers is that you don't need to spend, you could spend 15% of that on our team right now. And what we would do across, 4 or 5 individuals is we would learn how to use these products first. And then we would go out there and actually teach people how to go ahead and actually use it. Because if lawyers don't know how to use AI beyond like some very basic ChatGPT prompts, they're just not going to go ahead and actually use it. And that's actually one of the biggest complaints. And also, that's another reason why, like a lot of people, if you don't show them the benefits of it, right? There are people that are just token maxing out there just for the sake of like, oh, well, you said I had to hit this usage. So now everybody is just burning up water and electricity like crazy. Token maxing.
But that's did you see the Cerebrus IPO that that was listed at 185 and opened at double the price on day one.
See, that reminds me of the old .com days, right? You were probably around for some of that, right? Like those were exciting days, and you could have IPOs that weren't $20, they were 100, and they go appreciably after that. But that
Yeah.
so it's interesting that that's starting to take off again, and I think people are trying to capitalize and rush in on that. But
Yeah. I think the long and short of it is because basically, like, as we get ready to wrap it up, because I got to get ready to do the voice AI demo in about 25 minutes, 35 minutes from now. So this is going to basically be this. Even if you have a tool that is, I very succinctly, because my generation was part of that generation where we started buying used textbooks on Amazon instead of paying that freaking, over the top margin price at the campus bookstore, who you thought was supposed to have your back, but was like the biggest ripoff.
fifth
Selling.
edition or sixth edition, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, like even like the tools are only as good as, like, number one, if people actually understand how to get leverage on it. Um, yeah, like, so why wouldn't you want to have? Uh, I mean, Andy, you're posting up for the affiliate right now. The role that we're seeing the most out of, even more than product, is customer success. Because so many customers don't know how to achieve success. Like, you
That's a
know,
good point. That's an absolutely good point. And because what happens is in all these motions, the enablement or whatever, it's thought of as like an afterthought. It's like, yeah, 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 we'll write some documentation. We'll give them a how-to document or a manual. It's like, yeah, no one reads those things ever. They never did, ever. Right?
you know, that's why the forward deployed engineer position, it is amazing how many software engineers are saying that, the market's bad, right? The forward deployed engineer position has gone up. The number of openings have gone up more than 10 times, but so many engineers don't want to travel. And that's actually another big trend in product management because, like, that's actually another big trend in product management because they're also realizing a lot of these software engineers that are going on the field are also very, very bad at identifying additional revenue opportunities. So they're rebranding the role now to forward deployed product manager, because the product manager would go out there and be like, "Oh yeah, we could sell you this, you know."
The FDPM, that sounds like a techno group. We should start spinning to that.
100%. No, FDPMs are a very real thing, and a lot of companies are hiring former forward deployed engineers from Palantir that started up the term to, they're the ones that are building right now all of these other forward deployed engineering and forward deployed product management teams to be like effectively revenue driving Jason Bournes. Get him, get Andy in a hotel. But like Palantir had a really good process for this. They trained the heck out of the Palantir's is not fucking around. But like get him out there, put him in the best hotel, and like train these people how to use it up. I'm telling, like, companies, they actually don't need to spend this. Like, here's the argument that we're making in the first episode of our growth series is you don't need to spend that much money on hiring all of these customer success managers, sending out all these forward deployed product managers and engineers out there in teams, spending all this money on freaking ads. Honestly speaking, I don't think this homie here, to be very real with y'all, how can you tell me it's like it's freaking hilarious? Like, they are doing all the user generated content, okay? And all this guy is doing, trust me, I've recorded these videos before. It ain't fun. Like, it's like, all right, these are the following ripoffs, or like 7 stocks to go ahead and watch now that the Hormuz Strait is like, bro, you don't even need to be working that hard. You're clearly fucking sweating for this, right? Have a customer success, have like a customer onboarding person that's on WAP 24/7 instead of some fucking chatbot. Go on WAP, answer Andy's questions, Justin's questions, Crystal's questions, show them actually how to use it, And this is actually why I think this is actually why I think like where the market is going. This guy talk about the retard maxing. He's just like, what, why are we making it that difficult? Let's go out there. He's the VP of growth at Perplexity. He's like, yo, I will personally work with 5 companies to just show you guys how to use Perplexity. I'm going to go out there and handhold you like a golden retriever. And that's all you really need. Like, and if people like, dude, Costco figured this thing out. Let's just have somebody out there showing people how to use a Ninja blender, how to use an air fryer, you know, take the pizza out of the air fryer, give one to, the husband, the wife, and the kid, and the dog. And it's like, now you know, this is called Hot Pocket. It's on aisle 17. Comes in 3 flavors, you know? And then like they can go like that's actually how people look at how much curriculum we have, and people are still showing up on the coaching call. Oh, what?
Yeah, yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah. It's not an afterthought. It has to be baked in. And if you're not
Yeah.
planning on doing that, somebody else will, unfortunately.
Yeah, what we're manifesting here, champs. I want to thank everybody for showing up on the line. Crystal, maybe I don't know if you wanted to weigh in or not, but like I know you're always a little occupied with the family, but like this is part of our growth series where um I think the takeaways are pretty simple. If number one is at the very top layer, you have people that are skeptical. So let's just say I'm not skeptical. How do I get started? On the next layer after that, okay, now that I get started, how do I achieve mastery or proficiency? Okay. And then how do I basically become a power user? Because if I start achieving success, what I'm going to do is I'm going to, of course, tell my friends. Like, I think that's what Kalshi and Polymarket, as like these, the people that are on it, they're going out there in happy hour and they're showing it on their freaking iPhone. So if we really wanted to scale this thing up like 100x, which is what our team wants to help companies do, people should be out there on a Sunday when they're watching like the Knicks game out here in New York or the Lakers game, right? At, the local like Joe's Crab Shack and be like, yo, dude, let me show you my cow shit. And like I think people will be very interested. Like that's how all the other apps did it. Like remember Tinder when it first came out in 2014? People are showing their friends on their phones and then they're teaching their friends on their phones in real time. That's like I think what these apps want. I mean, that's what every app wants, right? Like to just show people that. That's how you're going to scale up. And then the other thing that I've also didn't see that was very obvious, and maybe they have it, and maybe I just don't know about, is where's the referral link, and where's the incentive for the referral link? I didn't see that on anywhere. And if it's there, then it's not overly obvious, and it has to be, right? Um, all the apps that scaled quickly had referral links or some kind of affiliate link. Like Uber was like, I'm gonna go and send Crystal, her first 2 rides are free. I get 2 rides for free because they know once you used it twice, you're on, right? Whereas the FanDuel, I remember like FanDuel, we got on it during Super Bowl 2022, right? It was like, we're gonna give you $50. Of course, I bet on LA that year and we won. Like okay, now it's like I'm hooked, right? Where is that like initial, here's initial $50
It's that
because your
aha
customer,
moment.
right?
Yeah, that aha
Because
moment.
your customer acquisition cost for running ads is not free either, right?
Right.
So that initial customer acquisition of like, here's $50, and if Andy refers Justin, Justin gets $50 too to go ahead and actually trade. And here's how you copy your first trade. And the safest trade is Pelosi. I don't think any. It just makes it very low risk for me if like I'm betting, okay, yo, I forgot. I think we're playing KC that year, but I remember the LA won. It's like if I lose $50, I don't feel like I'm losing $50. And I turned $50 into 200 for betting on the Super Bowl. My entire team's doing it. So I remember all my friend that was hosting, he was like, use my link, use my link, use my link, and then we all used his link. And then he bet big on LA, and he actually ended up winning more than all of us. So that's actually how you're going to be able to, scale users. But I think it's what happens after the Super Bowl. What I noticed was like about 20% of our group kept using it afterwards. And that's what you want. You don't just want this like one-off thing. They cash out and they never use it again. I mean, how you going to make your money back is they keep on using it over and over and over and over and over and over again. Um, yeah, that's the whole spiel.
Put them up on
Gucci.
game, Rich. Put them up on game.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank my esteemed colleagues here for joining us in our growth series. Uh, uh, I would say the growth strategy can always be better. We want to go out there and actually help. We want to go out there and help companies acquire more users faster, cheaper, and better than your existing growth team and or strategy. I think I summed it up pretty articulately. Uh, you know, Either your growth team sucks, and if one of your co-founders is heading up the growth strategy, then you're gonna be offended, but your growth strategy still sucks. You know, I'm more than happy for somebody to tell us our growth strategy sucks, but I get 100 times more customers. Do my job, take the job. You know?
Fair enough.
All right. I'll see y'all on the voice AI call. Thank y'all so much.
See you
Yeah.
guys.